Okay, so I wanted to do a video on the pink pill because some people were talking about her in the live stream of Divested Zealot, and I thought that it would be a good idea to basically watch her live and react to it. Honestly, everything I saw in her live stream, I didn't really have much against most of the things she was saying. Um, when it came to, for one, when she was addressing Cynthia G, I thought that was the proper way to address her. I did think, what kind of individual would try and make peace with such an individual, but that's just my perspective. It's great that she righted that situation. Um, on the other issue, I kind of know how she is about calling black men the N word and calling them other types of animals and things like that. You get what I'm saying. Um, and I mean, I understand her perspective. She's saying that how does it make black women other people? You know, I personally don't use those words. And my issue with her saying that about divestment is this: why are you just saying that black women who are divestors on these spaces are all using those terms against black men? Not all of us are. Some are and some aren't. And to me, in my perspective, I don't use those words against black men, but I do not care that other black women might. That's their choice, and that's their perception of black men. I mean, if it bothers you that they're using it and you're not using it, then, it seems like it's more of an issue than just what others think. Because if it, to me, I've thought this. Many people who think that divestors use that language are those who stereotype black women, who generalize black women, and they have a prejudice against black women. They don't want to actually, treat black women like they're individuals. So they'll see a couple divested black women using that language, and then they will say that they all do. And it's like, no, it doesn't mean we all do. If you actually pay attention, not all of us are using that language against black men. I literally don't think of black men that way in my head or use that kind of language when I speak on black men. And I've seen plenty of divested channels who don't use that language. You know, some do, some don't. It's whatever it is. So that to me was one part that I really didn't agree with her with. But more than that was the whole part of what she was talking about in the beginning with black women trying to do tutorials on hair twists and things of that nature. And Tommy Sotomayor basically um, tagging them so then they can see it or whatever. And some of the extreme things she said were really concerning. And to put it in frame of everything that she said in the past, it makes sense because in reality, this is a main reason why I've never considered Crystalline Carrazin, the pink pill, to be divested because she constantly is one to cry basically about the black man hating himself, okay? So, you know, in the first point of her talking about this, it was always like, when she first was saying it, it was like, from my perspective, as someone who isn't dark skinned, when dark skinned people disparage themselves and their own image, to me, I can't really be affected by it. And I think that's why, for me, I see it a little bit differently. That I don't see it as a sense of dark skinned black women being attacked, really, or black women being attacked, because I feel like generally, um, if the person who is attacking you looks exactly like you, then how is it an attack on you? You know? But the thing is, with these type of people, they can't really. address that because they're too focused on a black man not wanting them, that they can't even pay attention to the fact that the dark-skinned black man is literally shitting on himself. I mean, he is literally crapping all over himself. And you basically completely ignored it because all you were focused on was you not getting some black dick, basically. You were focused on, black men not wanting you. And that is why I kind of feel with her, I've said this before, that I don't see her as divested, but more so someone who is rejected and a mammy. And honestly, I would just keep this as an idea in the back of my mind when she goes about talking about things like that, especially when she went into the fact that she was saying that some dark-skinned black women didn't want to exist or something because black men didn't want them or something. These are mammy behavior, mammy thought process, mammy issues, because their thing is they think that they're supposed to be desired by black men, and they desire black men, that's their thing. And I would keep all this to the back of my mind if I didn't see her on a live stream with Jessica X literally saying that the reason she is into the idea of divesting or swirling or interracial relationships was because dark-skinned black men didn't want her because of colorism. And she said this on a live. Anyone can look at the video where Jessica X is responding to Shira7, basically saying that she's doxing her or whatever. That whole fiasco a year ago. Crystal Karazin went on that live and specifically said that she was basically a reject and that she basically believed in interracial relationships because black men didn't want her. And that's a mammy tactic. That's mammy behavior. It's not, to me, a rainbow swirler, because a rainbow swirler does it because that's just what they want to do. Rainbow swirlers want to be with men of any race. They don't have a preference. That's just how they naturally are. A mammy is someone who has a preference towards black men. And to me, it's like, okay, so if you are basically implying that you have a preference towards black men and you just revert to other races of men and use other races of men because black men don't want you, that's not divestment, that's not swirling, that's not rainbow swirling. And so that's why I've always had that perspective on her. And when she talks about black men not having an interest in black women or disparaging black women in that regard, to me, it's just like, it's a mammy behavior because you're caring so much about what black men want or desire, And, another part of it is she was talking about how, divestment and swirling, well, divestment, and I would say swirling for that matter, does not include people with black sons or things of that nature, or being involved with black men of any nature. She forgot to mention, it's not just that. I mean, considering she was talking about channels like Divested Zealot was actually talking about black women who have children with black men, to some extent at least. And I agree with that because to me, I'm like, technically, well, you weren't divested from the beginning of the situation. You weren't swirling from the beginning of the situation either. You had some affinity towards black men at some point in your life to actually have children with a black man. And, the pink pill fits that description completely. And a lot of people along her sector have that perspective. I personally, have always thought those people are different, obviously, than someone who never had any interest in black men and was divested, or at least swirling from the beginning, and was never into black men. Like, basically, never have been with a black man. So, I do think that, yeah, there is an extent of, being divested completely and having always been divested is also, not being involved with, black men ever. So, I mean, I don't see that as anything crazy to claim. Is it really anything crazy to claim when people are like, people have only been with black men and they only, will choose black men? Nobody ever says that, for example, that someone is who has changed their mind, for example, and is supposedly for black love, that they're only for black love when they've, interracially dated. That wouldn't be a person who was for black love only, right? No, that person would be a person who is more so open your options. So, is it really wrong that someone on the divested side is pointing out that someone who is opening their options is not the same as someone who is divested? It's weird like that. With black love, they're acting like, oh, you can be exclusive and say only black love. But when you're divested, you can't just say only divested. Why not? I mean, I think everyone should have a space of their own. Let the people who have the open your options type have their space, just like divested people should have their space, and black love people, they can have their whole situation going on over there too. So I mean, like, I don't get why you know divested spaces have to accept open your option spaces you know and if you want to call your space divested, or you don't want to call it divested, who really cares? But I mean, there should be a distinction between the two, because there's a big difference between someone who will date a black man and will open their options, and someone who does not consider black men, period. Our experiences are going to be very different too, you know. So that's all I'm saying here. Um, I have a little bit more to say. My video's kind of cutting off, so I'll start off. But yeah, I kind of feel like, honestly, when she's talking about black men being called different names and that bothering her, I think it comes from a more stronger place than just the fact of how it makes people look. Yes, it does make people look badly, but it only makes the people who use those words look badly, I guess, to some people. But half the people who are using it aren't even showing their face. And I think that's a major reason why they don't show their face, because they know that they're not supposed to say that out in public. So, I actually respect that, because it shows that in real life they don't actually act that way. So their image isn't affected by it. Um, those of us who don't use it, obviously, are not associated with it because we don't use it. That's not what we talk about. So that's just my perspective on the pink pill. I feel like, honestly, her thing is she's not really upset over the fact that it's making black women look badly. I think her issue mainly is that it makes her uncomfortable, because she does consider dating black men, and she does date black men because she's a rainbow swirler, sorta, I guess. I mean, she has her options open in dating behavior. Like, I don't think she actually prefers all races of men. I think she prefers black men. But she, like I said, she has an interest in dating men of all races. So when people talk about black men that way, of course it's going to affect her because she still dates black men. So, yeah, that's all I have to say in this video. I do think that as far as perspective, also, it's very different from someone who is not attracted to black men as opposed to someone who is, you know, in so many different regards. So it's good to have spaces for people who are not attracted to black men. That's not a bad thing to have such a space. I don't understand why it bothers mammies like that so much. I mean, if you like black men, like them, but why do we? But yeah, thanks for watching.